Well, welcome everybody. It's the Roundtable, season 1, episode 8. It is February. Oh man, what is it, guys? February 17, 15,
15.
15, Valentine's Day. Yeah,
President's Day.
it's President's Day. But hey, by the time you see this, it might be February 17 or 18. Who knows? Whenever we get this edited out to you, we are happy to be back. Right? There's a few things that are making us happy. I can speak for my co-host. Jeff Febus and Ryan Souders. The roundtable is something we look forward to every 2 weeks or so, and today is no exception. Again, our first segment is going to be brought to you by Meijer, a proud sponsor of Calvin Athletics since 2012, and we're thrilled to be back. A little something different tonight, a little different feel to the show. We'll have some guests from the women's basketball team. Looking forward to chatting with them, one of the few teams we haven't talked to. But other than that, Ryan, opening thoughts, and Jeff opening thoughts, and we'll get right to it.
Another week at the round table. Every week, every time we're at the round table, I'm confident we are one podcast closer to actually doing this together at a round table. So that's going to keep us going. It's good to be back. Jeff, any thoughts before we get rolling?
Oh, it's definitely good to be back. I think when it's as cold as it is here in West Michigan right now, whenever you think of warm sports or see warm sports happening, such as the Australian Open right now, you kind of get this panging for warm weather, or you hear that pitchers and catchers are going to report here in like a week or something, like maybe it's less than a week. It's like, oh, I could use some of that right now.
I hear you. Pitchers and catchers reporting my Cubs. I think there's going to be 2 or 3 people reporting based on our off-season moves. So, yeah. Jim, what about you? Any opening thoughts before we get going?
No, I mean, I have a lot of opening thoughts, but it. Ryan, you've said it to me, and we've kind of pumped each other up. It's always, we're one episode or we're one more day closer to the end of the pandemic, and I don't know when that's going to end, but I know we're one day closer, and that's what keeps us rolling. And the people around you and the department and the student athletes will just keep battling through it. So that's kind of my thoughts on a very cold and winter storm warranting evening here in West Michigan.
Yeah, just more snow coming down at us. So I guess then without further ado, we'll head to our first segment tonight, sponsored by Meijer, longtime sponsor here of Calvin Athletics. And Jim, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to just go with kind of some AD FAQs, for a couple of reasons. One, I have learned throughout this COVID pandemic, just about every email list that I am subscribed to, because I have gotten every company's, every organization's FAQs and kind of what they're doing about COVID, and apparently that they care about me so much. So thought about turning that around on you a little bit tonight from an AD perspective, maybe kind of State of the Union. We've got all those listeners, all those viewers of the Roundtable. The emails are just cascading in. So, if you're all right with it, we'll get to a couple of those tonight, and we'll just really be curious your thoughts.
Well, I'm excited about this section. I figured that instead of answering my email, maybe I could do a FAQ and answer a lot of emails for without having to type all my answers to parents and donors and alumni and student athletes who wonder what we're doing. And so I'm sure we'll get to other things, but that's the way it's going.
Christian, back in the studio, maybe you can hit the talk to text function right here, and maybe we're auto-filling an FAQ that you can just kind of post as your email away message. So, we'll start maybe a bit more serious and then kind of have some fun at the end. But really, just the obvious one. At this point, what's the plan for Calvin Athletics moving forward? Where are we at? What are testing protocols for teams? What is the university doing, with their athletes, for their athletes, and what is competition going to look like kind of from here until maybe mid to late May?
Well, that's a big question, and I'll try to answer most of it. And the parts I forget, go ahead, jump in and say, no, that's not right. You guys are living it with me as well. I think the first thing is the college has been consistent, and we've been consistent since August that we were going to try to do something this year. As I've addressed in different scenarios, that we're going to try to play some type of intercollegiate athletics. Now that has taken many different shapes and forms from the fall, the winter, and then hopefully heading into the spring. And I think one of the things that we are consistently trying to do is we're trying to do that and trying to do that in the safest way possible with help from our health services, from the Kent County Health Department. And so we're trying to match our testing to the NCAA standard, to the Michigan standard, to the Kent County standard. And that's why you see some inconsistencies. Some teams are wearing masks, some teams aren't. We're wearing masks when we play contact sports. We're testing 3 times a week. One thing that I think viewers would find very unique is that our coaches are doing the testing. They all trained. We are working through the health services, and we spend a lot of time together as a coaching staff testing our student athletes. And so as different teams come online, whether it's the men's soccer team coming online in the spring, they have a little different testing protocol than, say, men's and women's basketball, who has a little different testing protocol than track, a little testing, so each team has their own testing protocol.
Jim, can I ask what is dictating that testing protocol? Is it like you said, any of those layers of the state, the county, the conference? Is it the type of sport it is? Is it indoor, outdoor? Yep. Just give us some idea, not necessarily specific, but what are some of the things that are going to dictate different groups and how they test?
Sure. I think the NCAA, which that's who's really Dr. Hainline, who is the medical director with the NCAA, came out a long time ago in the summer with putting teams in different categories or sports in different categories: high risk, medium risk, or intermediate risk and low risk, based on the amount of contact, based on the amount of separation. Each sport's unique, right? So you may be able to have less contact, but the hockey bench could be different than what the basketball bench is. And so we could separate that out. So the different protocols based on that. And sometimes that can be maddening as you look at, you're like, well, why is this sport this and why is that sport that, something else? We've tried to not deal with that as much as try to deal with just what are we supposed to do? How can we do it most efficiently as possible? And I'm just seeing my daughter join the green room, so to speak. So I got a little distracted there, but
she's kind of in and out. Looks like you got to teach her how to use technology, but we'll broach that subject later. Yeah,
and so we have all the different protocols, and you got to give credit to a lot of people in the sports medicine group, and Jody Bird and Natalie Hubers in the office, and Nancy Meyer trying to figure out all those different protocols. And then our coach has done a great job disseminating that information. One of the things that we found out in this pandemic is the communication lines are strained. And so to try to get the information to our athletes, and it could change from a day to day. Email that I'll work on later tonight is we're going to change where we test. We're going to be testing, a different spot in the building, and we've been testing the same spot since August. So, that can happen just about any time.
Okay, so next question then. I'm not necessarily asking you to kind of be a palm reader or predict the future or anything. So I'm not going to ask you maybe when things will be normal, but I'm curious from an administrative end, what is it going to take for things to return to some semblance of normalcy, right? Fans in the stands, student section maybe. So again, not necessarily when, but what are some of the things that are going to need to happen from a macro level for that to be able to happen at Calvin?
It's interesting, Ryan. One of the things that we talked about as ADs when we started meeting weekly back when the pandemic started is what's it going to take, right? Because athletes and coaches want to know. Tell me what I have to do. We'll do it. And particularly to play a sport they love. And sports is one of the first things to go. If you remember, right, the Utah Jazz and then the NCAA tournament and the Big Ten tournament, one of the first things to go. And at that point, I remember somebody saying on some broadcast, I wish I could give credit, sports is the first thing to go and it's the last thing to come back. And I think in a lot of ways, schools like ours have defied that a little bit, in that we've thought we could do it, and we've tried to do it in a safe manner to give our student athletes some experience. And so what's it going to take? I think it's going to take a large portion of the population to be vaccinated. And I think you're going to see, when you see hospitalizations and deaths go down to a point where we feel comfortable that we could be together again, I think you'll see that what we call normal come back. I think there'll be a point, and I'll put it this way. I think there'll be a point where all of a sudden we'll be at, say, a Hope Calvin basketball game, and it will be normal, and we won't really know when that moment of celebration. I don't think there'll be a, hey, everything's normal, throw off our hats, celebrate, that this is over. It'll just kind of move to that direction. We're going to talk about having our parents in the stands for some games here coming up. That's a step forward. And I think then we'll add this and we'll add that. And pretty soon we'll all kind of look around and say, hey, this feels really normal. So I think the numbers in hospitalizations, deaths, and cases are all going to have to get to a point where it's pretty normal.
Okay. So it's funny. You're going to throw your hat in the air. I'm going to be throwing my mask in the air. So that's
Okay.
when we get there. Last serious question, and then we'll hit you up with a couple quick fun ones.
Okay.
So Calvin Athletic Department obviously fits within a couple of frameworks. One as a institution of higher learning, right, of higher education. Also as a Christian institution of higher learning. And then finally as a Christian institution of higher learning that exists in the NCAA Division III. And so my question to you is, what excites you about the future of Calvin University athletics as part of a Division III Christian higher educational institution, right? As you look forward, what excites you about it, and where are we headed as an athletic department?
I could talk on this for a half hour because I'm so passionate. One of the things that I have always said about Christian higher education need for it. And I think there's a need for us to examine the world through a Christian perspective. I was a political science undergrad, and I firmly believe that you can be a Christian politician. I think you can be a Christian coach. I think you can be a Christian student athlete. In fact, I just think that's kind of who we are. And so to examine and to experience those things in this environment is a very unique. There's less of us than there was before. So for us to be able to put together a group of people who believe the way we believe in our faith, and then show the world that, hey, we can be competitive in athletics. We can do athletics in a way that in some way is hopefully distinctive. And so what excites me is that project. And that project at Calvin always is trying to be distinctive in what we do. And so that's work is never done. Like every time I think, now that we've got it, then there's some mistake or something changes in the world and people will look at us differently. And I say, no. We're trying to do it this way. And it's working with coaches, working with student athletes, working with administrators in our relationship with the NCAA and say, yeah, no. We can do sport in a very unique, distinctive way. That doesn't mean we're the only school that does it. Your alma mater does it a really great job. But it's learning and kind of continually evolving. If it was just static, if it was just a situation in which it was the same old thing year after year, I don't think I'd be excited. But it's new people, it's new challenges, it's a new culture. How can we remain relevant is what gets me to school every day. And then on a personal level, the idea that I had, I think I had a life-affirming and life-changing experience as a student athlete. I think when you go to college to find your people, and I found my people in Calvin's athletic department, people who were like me, who challenged me to be better as a student, better as an athlete, and better as a person. And I found that at Calvin, and I found that in Calvin's athletic department. I want to have that opportunity for people to find people like themselves who challenge them to be the best they can be academically, socially, in their faith. And if we can provide that at Calvin for other student athletes like it was for myself, that's what gets me going every morning. I get fired up just talking about it.
Cool. Well, thanks, Jim, for sharing those things. So 4 real quick rapid fire, first thing that comes to your head questions.
That's not good for me.
First one, an absolute layup for you here. I feel
Okay.
like these guys should chime in as a sponsor, but we'll see what you say. So your go-to fuel to keep you going on busy days, it's even present. There it is. Yeah, Diet Coke. Pretty standard. All right. Best sporting. Go
Not
ahead.
Diet Pepsi. Not Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, no.
Like fake money.
Yeah. Best sporting event you've been to live, not having anything to do with Calvin Athletics.
This is an easy one, and Jeff Febus knows this. In 1979, I went to my first University of Michigan football game. In the student section, there was a different smell in that student section. I was 11 at the time, and my dad took me to the student section. Anthony Carter caught a last-second touchdown. Lee Corso was the coach for the Indiana Hoosiers on homecoming day, and I fell in love with Michigan football on that day. And you go to a lot of games and you don't see last second shots or historic things unless you go see a no-hitter for the Cubs. I know, Ryan, you've done that.
Them, but yeah.
The second one, I got to have two. The second one, and this dates me again, Mark Fidrich beating the Yankees on Monday Night Baseball, Bird the Word. Jeff remembers this. I think 6-4, and he went in a complete game. I was at that game with my family, and I was a little kid, 1976.
So what you're telling me is because of that game you went to when you were 11 is why when you're at all of our games, you're just watching Michigan football up in the press box.
Only when you get ahead. Only when you get ahead. If it's tie, I concentrate on Calvin men's soccer.
Okay, so despite you not knowing that yesterday was Valentine's Day, hopefully Kath is not watching this. We'll throw her something back just in case. So, favorite home cooked meal, favorite thing at home.
Well, if you know me, obviously there's a lot of favorite meals. Here's my thing. My wife's genre of she can cook a lot of things. Baked ziti is one of mine favorite, but also like anything she does with eggs. Like, I know that sounds simple, but I mean, egg burrito, scrambled eggs, fried eggs, omelets. Like, I'm telling you, it's good stuff. I want to open up a breakfast restaurant with her.
Okay, good. I mean,
she would work. She would work. I would eat.
So she would be the cook and you would just be the reviewer. You'd send out just peer reviews.
Yeah, I would. Well, I would greet people coming in.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay, last one. This was supposed to be quick. Greatest sports movie of all time.
Miracle has to be. I mean, it's the greatest sports moment in this century. Besides the Cubs winning the World Series, but I'm just saying. I mean,
Cubs
there's
in the 21st century.
I wasn't a history major. I know some century.
I got to be honest. I was really sure greatest sports story. I thought for sure that we were getting. No, I thought for sure we were getting Hoosiers or oh gosh, I don't know, The Natural.
League of Their Own. There's no crying. There's no crying
in baseball. My manager. Anyway, Jim, thanks so much for your honesty and your candor tonight. Again, that's our first segment brought to you by Meijer, sponsor of Calvin Athletics. So we'll be right back with 5 minutes with Phoebes. Hold on. We'll be right back. Thanks.
That was an interesting segment. I was glad that I was able to answer a lot of questions. And I know it wasn't short, but I'm never short with my answers. But our next segment is a segment we have every episode. That episode the segment is called 5 Minutes with Phoebus. It's brought to you by In On Time. Matching your requirements and your needs to our fleet and warehouses gives you the flexibility you're looking for in your logistics provider. Unmatched service and reliability makes In On Time your complete logistics solution. Every episode, we give our resident sports historian and sports information director, Jeff Phoebus, a topic that he can run with. We are going to be playing Hope women's basketball on Saturday. We always hear so much about the men's rivalry, but I have been well immersed in the women's rivalry, particularly the last 8 years, but certainly marrying a former women's basketball player. That game is always important to them as well. So Jeff's going to take us through some of the Hope Calvin women's rivalry moments.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. And like yourself, I also married a former Calvin women's basketball player, so I've been well versed in a rivalry that goes back, at least in official records, back to the mid 1960s. And Calvin winning the first 4 decades. Hope has won the last 3. Calvin leads the all-time series 71-55. Hope's had a bit of the upper hand over the last, 21 years or so, holding a 41-15 series advantage, but a lot of great games down through the years. Just kind of touching on the fact that my wife played in the rivalry 4 years. Her best friend growing up was the point guard eventually for Hope College, Sue Buchema, and then my wife, the then Julie Post, ended up being a power forward for the Calvin women's basketball team. So imagine your childhood friend that you grow up.
Former friend.
Yeah, there you go. You ride horses with, you go to camps with, all this kind of thing. And then you go to the opposite schools of the rivalry, and then you go head to head for 4 straight years. And Calvin actually, when my wife was playing, won the 2 games her freshman year and the 2 games her senior year. And her friend Sue won the 4 games during the sophomore and junior years there. And my wife's comment on those games were, I never played my best, and neither did Sue, because you're playing against your best friend growing up, and you're just not comfortable being friends anymore while the game is going on. And so, yeah, they just, they fought hard, and each ended up coming out of there with 4 wins apiece. But certainly a lot of great games. I think just kind of looking back on my experience as a sports information director, I had kind of a rude welcome into the rivalry my first year as an SID, 94-95, and Hope won 3 very tight games, including the MIAA tournament championship game. The first one went overtime. We lost in the Dow Center, where Hope used to play 55-53. So Hope won the regular season and the league tournament title, and that was a tough pill to swallow my first year. So it felt almost cathartic that next year in 95-96. In fact, that was the year where Calvin started the year 1-3 and won 22 straight games, because they finished 23-4 that year. And part of that 22 game win streak were 3 wins over Hope the year after they had lost to Hope 3 times. So I definitely remember those teams, with Stephanie Coors and Kara Mulder and Aaron Harkema and those folks winning, and Kristen Falkema is another name that comes to mind. So if they're listening to this, they'll remember that 95-96 year when they came back to win all 3 meetings and won the league and the league tournament, and went on to the NCAA tournament. So it was a lot of fun. Another game that comes to mind, I was just going through some of the scores, and a lot of people might not remember this. Hope actually won the regular season title, but Calvin went on to win the league tournament crown. But 99-2000, the first meeting, it took place at the old Calvin Fieldhouse, and Calvin won that game 56-54. The men played against Hope that same day at the Highland Civic Center and also won a tight game. So the interesting thing about that week leading up is that the Republican presidential debate was held in the Calvin Fine Arts Center, and it was moderated by the Meet the Press moderator, in fact, the longest moderator in the history of Meet the Press by NBC television, Tim Russert. And Tim Russert, as part of his deal with the Calvin students that were there for the debate, as they were filing in, was, I'll give the score of the Calvin Hope games if you guys win, if you behave during the presidential debate. So Calvin won both games in very exciting fashion on that Saturday. About 3-4 days after the debate. In fact, the women's game, Hope missed a fadeaway shot on the buzzer, on the baseline at the buzzer. So Calvin winning at 56-54. And at the very end of Meet the Press the next day, Tim Russert held up his end of the bargain and gave both scores, the men's and the women's, and said, a great day for Calvin College. Congratulations, Knights. So you can't buy better publicity than that on national television on NBC's Meet the Press. That was pretty awesome. Just thinking through the early years of the Venord Arena and even DeVos Fieldhouse. Calvin's first win inside DeVos Fieldhouse came in 2007, in January of 2007. Calvin won the game 60-57, and at the time it was the largest single game attendance at a Division III women's basketball game, and it made the front page of USA Today the following day. So that was pretty cool. 2009 through about 2012, that was kind of when the towers of Christopher Kike from Calvin and Carrie Snickers from Hope met, and they went head to head for a handful of years. Both were named to the D3Hoops.com Team of the Decade that came out this summer. Both were National Players of the Year at one point or another. Both were league MVPs, All-Americans. You could just go right on down the list, but to have two amazing players like that go head to head in the rivalry was pretty awesome. One of the games during that run was the MIAA tournament championship game, and third meeting of the year, the two teams split in the regular season. The craziest thing, and I was a part of it, is that a coin flip was needed to decide who would be the top seed for the league tournament.
I remember that.
That was the tiebreaker. So
did you call it for Calvin?
Well, I was the participant, but someone from Hope, and I'm not going to name the person because I know they felt a little bad. And hey, you call the coin flip in the air, and that's just the way it goes. But Hope called the flip. They called heads, and it came up tails on a diving net at Jenison Aquatic Center. It was the MIAA commissioner, Dave Nielsen, who threw the coin toss there over by the diving well there prior to the final night of the swimming and diving championships, as the regular season for women's basketball had just ended that afternoon. So Calvin won the coin flip, got the top seed. Bernard Arena ended up being the host site for the championship game, and Calvin won it in the title game 67. Beg your pardon, it was 56-55, and it was Jill Thomas throwing in a three-pointer at the buzzer from about 22 feet out. And Calvin won the league tournament, went on to the NCAA tournament. Hope did too. They went on to the NCAAs that year, but that was a real exciting game. Another one that comes to mind was, again, Calvin winning at DeVos Fieldhouse back in 2015. That was the year that Calvin went 30-1. Didn't lose until the national quarterfinal. Of course, Jim, your daughter, Anna Timmer, was on that team. And Calvin, the first meeting of the year was at DeVos Fieldhouse, and Hannah Aker with the old-fashioned three-point play with a couple seconds left, allowing Calvin to win it 76-74. And then the Knights would win 77-73 at Bernard Arena in the regular season matchup, and then winning the MIAA tournament game 61-44. So those are some of the big games that just kind of jump to mind right off the top of my head. But there's been a lot of great ones, and both teams have had a lot of success with their programs down through the years.
Yeah, Jeff, you've done it again. I'll tell you what, yeah. I am excited to quiz our women's basketball players joining the show tonight. I expect 100%. And just can you confirm real quick that I just want to be sure I got this right? You are undefeated in all coin flip competitions.
Yeah. Yes. Undefeated. I can remember Jeff being a representative for that. And there's 7 different tiebreakers, and all the teams were tied on those 7, and it came down to a coin flip, and Febus got us a dub over at Jenison Aquatic Center to host.
Here's one of the side parts of that coin flip, and this is a true story. Dave Nielsen could verify it, but the first time he threw the coin up, it stuck on its edge in the kind of webbing of the diving mat or that wrestling mat there. I mean, it was right on his edge, and he had a Dutch gilder, of course. He had to bring out the Dutch coin, and it literally was on its edge, so he had to pick it up and throw it a second time. True story.
Oh man, those are memories. And just a side note on the Hannah Aker team that my daughter was on. I think that was the only game I missed all year. I was traveling back from the NCAA convention, and I was watching it in the airport in Washington D.C., going crazy with people looking at me. And I thought I was reffing very well from looking at my computer in the Washington D.C. Airport. And all the big wins, I'm never there. I've just decided that I am the bad luck. I'm not the horseshoe guy. The only one I get is Messiah at Messiah. So that's the only one I can remember. All right.
I'm just excited for that 30 for 30 to come out with Febus and the coin flip, man. That's gonna be
You could make one on it, that's for sure.
Oh, that'd be good.
All right. Well, hey, we are going to be back in just a second. Although I think Christian said we can go right there. Maybe we'll do that. We'll go right to our student athlete interview brought to you by Lake Michigan Credit Union. Lake Michigan Credit Union has more ways for your money to earn even more. Choose from CDs, health savings accounts, nationally recognized credit cards. The checking account Money Magazine calls the best checking account in America. Earn more interest, more returns, and more rewards at Lake Michigan Credit Union. This is going to be our last segment tonight, so we have a little time, and all these ladies have been waiting patiently as they are now a half hour past their time. I told them to be on there, but joining us tonight from Calvin Women's Basketball is Stephanie Coors, Abbie Cooley, and Gabby Timmer, three juniors. For those back home, Stephanie and Abbie are roommates, so they are free to be 6 feet with each other, and so they are at their off-campus place. Gabby is at her off-campus place. They can now both unmute at this point, and we're going to have a little Q&A, and then at the end, every athlete who comes on the show has to answer 24 seconds worth of questions. There'll be 7 of them, and we will do that as we leave. Ladies, on behalf of the Calvin Roundtable, thank you for taking the time on this cold winter night. And Coach Souders, you get first crack at them. Ask them some questions.
Sounds good. Well, ladies, again, thanks so much for joining us this evening. It's kind of been the first question, really, for all of our student athletes in this podcast. Just kind of take us into a day in your world as a student athlete on the women's basketball team. To be honest, as it relates to COVID, what are your protocols? What are you doing? How has the winter gone? What have been some of the success stories? What have been some of the challenges? So kind of as a background, would just love to hear from you all what day-to-day is like right now.
Oh, geez. Well, it changes pretty much every day, just with classes being online or in person, just kind of differs. But basically, first half of the day is just classes and homework and as much as I can fit in, because as soon as classes are done, then I got to head straight to the gym. And then practice, obviously, and whether there's film after or if we do lifting or any of that. And then afterwards, try to eat as much as I can and then do homework for the rest of the night. So then repeat.
Sure. So with regards to COVID in particular, what are you all doing? Are you testing? Do you have any different locker room protocols? Anything on the bus? You've been able to get some games in. Looks like you're having to wear. What has that been up to this point in the year?
Yeah, so we have to get tested. Recently we were getting tested every day just to convince Alma to play us. They didn't end up wanting to do that regardless of being tested every day. Mm-hmm. So now we're back to being tested 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday normally. And then once we get cleared to go, we find out those results in 15 minutes. And then in the locker room, it's only 8 people in the locker room at a time. We have to grab a thing that signs us in. And then in the locker room, we're allowed to use the showers and everything, but we have to just kind of be very cautious about being around our locker space and having that spacing. On the bus, we have to have wear a mask. We have travel masks that they provided for us. And we have to be, there has to be at least 1 row in between all of us players. So we're really spread out, which has changed a lot of our team dynamic because we normally have a lot of fun on the bus ride. So that's been different to be that far away from people. And then, in games, I think the biggest change has been in games having to wear a mask. You feel the fatigue a lot faster with a mask on. So that's been hard.
Sure. So you mentioned like one of the things that's been difficult has been, bus rides and, usually a pretty close knit group. So, talk about that a little bit. You guys kind of talk about your group cohesion, your kind of team culture. And I don't necessarily even mean just this year, right? So, there's been a coaching change in the program from when you all came in and who you recruited with. And obviously Coach Christner's there now. Talk about that as upperclassmen in terms of, maybe being recruited into something, but now having to lead and you're leading underclassmen, particularly through COVID. Talk about that a little bit. What have been some of those challenges, but what have been some of the success stories that you've seen as you've transitioned to being upperclassmen?
And let me throw it to Gab a little bit and add, this group, you're 3 of them. Bailey is another junior. She's not with us tonight, but your group has kind of had a special bond from the get go. You've kind of gone through a lot as juniors. I'm probably more than any junior class, and what has that done, Gabby? Do you have a certain amount of respect for the other people who have hung in there through all the different changes that you've gone through, and you kind of have that special bond?
Yeah, it's definitely been a wild ride these past 3 years with everyone. But like as you said, I think a lot of us have a special bond with each other, and that's something that I think has grown throughout these 3 years just because of all the new changes, all the different coaches, and all the different things we had to do, from the polar vortex to a new coach to COVID. So I think that I feel like we're almost like a stronger relationship just because we've been through all those things together. But I would say COVID has definitely been the biggest challenge that we face. This year has definitely been really different, and it was sad that we didn't get to spend November and December with each other, but I think that we're all grateful that we can be out there with each other right now, and even just we're thankful for the practices that we get. So that's something that we're really thankful for.
I'll throw this one, and I've watched this since we're freshmen, and the team as a general. The women's basketball team have a really unique personality, in my opinion. Is that everybody? Well, I think everybody says, "Hey, do they get along?" And anytime I talk to somebody, like, "Yeah, we all get along great," but you just kind of this. Hey, we're in this together. We're going to hang with this, and I've enjoyed watching that over the years.
Okay, so next question. Maybe we'll kind of deviate from the basketball and the COVID. You're probably a little bit tired of that. So this is more for Steph and Abbie. So I'm curious. You're from Colorado. So I'm going to make some certain assumptions about Colorado. And my first one is really to you, and directed at Gabby, right? So I'm fortunate. I've known Gabby nine years now. Assuming that you two either ski or snowboard or have been, at least out several times to some different mountains out in Colorado. Have we gotten GT up on skis or a snowboard in your time here at Calvin?
We have not, but I actually have my skis here, so you might as well try it out.
Think we should wait till after season.
Yeah.
True. Coach Christner, my bad. That's
an
definitely after. So then I gotta ask both ends of it. So GT, have you ever been any kind of winter sports? Anything like that?
No.
Any desire to?
No.
None. Okay.
I wonder this. So I did not know this till I got to know the Colorado girls, as we call them, Colorado women. Excuse me. Like, I didn't know there's a difference between skiers and snowboarders. Like, some people are snowboarders and some people are skiers.
Yes.
You are both skiers, right?
Yeah, we're both skiers. There's a big difference and a big rivalry. There's the people who do both. They're traitors. But besides that, yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a rivalry. You can kind of tell what people are like
based off their vibes.
Based off their vibes, yeah.
I'm not from the West.
Different energy.
I can definitely agree with that. And I will say this, Gab, based on what I know about you and skiers and snowboarders, you are definitely a hot chocolate at the lodge type of person.
I don't think me and my limbs need to be going downhill skiing or snowboarding. So
probably a good idea. Okay, so a couple more here. Favorite kind of group activity. You can take this to be whatever group you want, whether it's specifically your junior class or maybe women's basketball, but favorite group activity that you all have been engaged in that has nothing to do with basketball. I'm going to go pre-COVID or, responsibly socially distanced, but just kind of trying to get to know you away from the court, things that you all like to do as a group.
Thrift shopping.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's a good one.
We really like to do that together.
And is that like because we want to find things that make Ryan, Jeff, and Jim feel really old and like that's retro now? Or you're like trying to resell it, you're trying to find deals? Like, what? Take me through thrifting. I've not known it as a verb, but I think you're about to help me out a little bit.
There's just something super great about being able to buy 4 shirts and 2 pairs of pants and something else for $40 total.
Yeah, I actually just called it being an assistant coach for about 6 years. Right, Jim? That's what that is.
Or
Okay.
a parent of 3 kids.
Any particular space around Grand Rapids that we enjoy thrifting or in or
Salvation Army, we call it Salval. We also like to go to Goodwill sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The one by Walmart is fancier, so if you want nicer clothes, you go there.
Okay.
And then we all, I think that's mostly it. With the team, those are the 2 we kind of go to.
Yeah.
Okay. Gab, this one's for you. So favorite or team choice for big win locker room song. What do we like? We've won, we've made the conference tournament, we've gotten a big win, whatever it is. What are our women's basketball players jamming to first when they're back in the locker room?
Well, we have no, like we listen to great music. We're just not allowed to listen to things that hinder our ears or anything. So the selection is kind of slim. Oh, I don't really know. I can't go on the aux because everyone says my music is trash. So I don't really.
What you'll find amazing there is you notice at no point in time when Gabby said that where her teammates like, oh no, really, like we'll even help you save face. Like they just kind of came like, yeah, I mean, you're right. So, oh man, I think I've kind of hit rock bottom here. I think that's good, Jim. I don't know if you want to take it over, ask a couple before you head to your 24/7. But
no, I'm gonna head to the 24/7 to get these young ladies back to their studying tonight. So here's how it goes. You're each going to answer the question. So I'll ask question number 1, and you'll each have a response. We'll go through all 7 that way. We'll see if you agree or disagree. We do it with every student athlete that comes on. I may question your answer, and you can defend it if you would like. So we're going to go on my screen. It's Stephanie, Abbie, and Gabby. As I said. All right, ladies, we are going to do our 24/7. It's 24-second shot clock, 7 questions. It will take a little longer with 3 of you. I'll ask you each a question. On my screen, it's Stephanie, Abbie, and then Gabby. And we're going to go right back. What is your favorite color?
It's yellow.
Abbie.
Green.
And Gabby.
Purple.
Steph, you get the award. You're the closest anyone has said to maroon and gold. So yellow is the award winner there. All right. You are not playing basketball at Calvin, but you're all exceptional athletes. What other sport would you be playing if not for basketball at Calvin? Steph.
Well, I have ran track here as well, so I'll say track.
What other one besides track?
No.
If you could have any choice.
Women's lacrosse.
Women's lacrosse. That's right. Okay. Ab.
Did we have to have played this sport at some point in our life, or just something that you wish?
You could say women's hockey.
Oh, I should say that.
No, I'd be so bad at that. I can't skate. Okay, then softball. Gabby.
Volleyball.
Big shocker there. You know, if we had an alpine ski team, we might have you guys stay around for a 5th year and ski on that. All right. Are you all a dog or cat person? Steph.
Dog.
Abbie.
Yeah, dog.
Gabby.
I have too many cats, but I'm gonna go with dog.
Dog. All right. You guys are all. No, that was the correct answer. If you were wondering, that was the correct answer. All right. Who is the best dancer on your team? It doesn't have to be one of you 3. It could be anyone in that locker room. Steph.
Cam.
How about Cam? How about
Probably Leia.
Leia. Abbie.
I gotta go with Sarah.
It is not there.
Gabby.
Steph.
Steph gets your vote. All right. Now you're all moved off campus. Those glorious years eating at Millcrest or Commons. All right. what is the food you miss the most that you wish you could go back to Commons or Noldcrest and eat for dinner, lunch, or breakfast? Steph.
Corned beef hash.
Corned beef hash at Commons or Noldcrest?
Commons.
Commons. Abbie.
The pizza at
Ooh,
Commons.
I've never heard that one before. Gab.
I don't really know.
You're going last. Like,
Maybe like,
tomato soup and grilled cheese.
yeah, that's good. Sure.
Sure. All right. Who's got the messiest locker in your locker room? Steph.
Me.
I was Abbie.
Steph. Yes.
Gabby.
Steph.
Boy, your parents are really proud right now, Steph. Really proud of that. That's saying something because I've seen Gabby's room. So, all right, this one's a tough question, and it's. I could guarantee one thing. Let's say I could guarantee one thing this semester for you all. I could say you're going to get a 4-point this semester, a 4-point GPA, never having to study, or beat Hope Saturday. What do you take? Abbie.
Yeah, I'd beat Hope Saturday.
Gabby.
Beat Hope.
There. You guys all got that last one right. I was getting a little nervous there.
Y'all got A's.
You all got A's. And, maybe I can guarantee the 4-point. Of course, that would be an NCAA violation, so we're not going to do that. But beat Hope on Saturday, and really good things happen. Okay. Hey, I want to thank each of you for joining us, taking time out, busy basketball season. I'm sure our viewers will love to hear from the Calvin women's basketball. So, again, really appreciate it, and have a great night, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as we wrap up Season 1, Episode 8 of the Roundtable, we had some great guests from the women's basketball program. We thank Stephanie Coors, Abbie Cooley, and Gabby Timmer for their time tonight. We love Jeff's historical look at the Calvin Women's Hope rivalry, and I hope people enjoyed the frequently asked questions with the athletic director. But as we move into the week and reflecting on the last couple weeks or whatever, gentlemen, final thoughts. Jeff, you're first.
To give Ryan a little shout out is goalkeeper Chris Morris signing a professional soccer contract today. Pittsburgh Riverhounds. That's something to say congratulations to. That's a pretty significant accomplishment.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. We're pretty excited about that. So, Chris signed today with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds of the USL Championship Division. For those maybe not in the soccer world, that is essentially, at least in the soccer pyramid in the U.S., like a AAA team, if you're to compare it to baseball. So, a big deal for Chris and certainly his teammates who helped him get in there, and something pretty cool for our program. So, thanks for saying that.
Ryan, final thoughts.
Another day. Good to be back at the round table. I'm already excited for a couple weeks from now. It's cheesy as it may be. I'm appreciative for our colleagues. Like, I really feel just a sense of we're in it together. I mean, I can't imagine being at a place where you're having to fight COVID and you're having to fight off each other. And I think we've got a positive group that is grinding away, trying to help each other out. And yeah, just despite all the craziness, ecstatic to be a Calvin Knight.
Well, again, thank you to Jeff, and thanks to Ryan and our guest. I guess my final thoughts, I always kind of end with a big, thank you or wax poetically. Here's my deal. I just have learned that what COVID has taught me is, you got to maximize each day, and the challenges are there. And it is crazy. I'm just going to tell you that it is crazy. And there is perspective building that is going on that I think we'll reflect on. And this show, this hour or so we spend every other week helps me reflect. And I think this is as much therapeutic for me as anything that I do during the 2 weeks. So again, I appreciate folks being on, and I don't know who listens to this show, but it is certainly therapeutic to get out some of these thoughts beyond my own head. So thanks, everybody, and we'll be back in 2 weeks, hopefully with a couple dubs and a few more wins and a few more great performances from our athletes. So signing off, Roundtable, episode 8.